To my fellow South Africans, this is for your urgent attention. We all need to be aware that our South African police service, priority crime, and government has been captured by international crime syndicates from Brazil. The reason I give my opinion on this is I have traveled to many South American countries. Here is my first passport, full of stamps, and here's my second one, full of stamps. If you notice from the picture above, the Brazilian government has mentioned that they are aware that they have been infiltrated by two drug cartels, specifically Primeiro Comando da Capital, or the PCC, and Comando Vermelho, which is known as the CV. Comando Vermelho means commanders in red. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Here we have a drug bust in Brazil, which they have mentioned was on its route to Durban. It leaves from Brazil's port of Santos and was destined for Durban, South Africa. I will slowly continue showing you that our South African sisters and brothers and police women and men are being used by the cartels from South Africa and from Brazil to traffic drugs. Notice the packaging used for international drug trafficking. It's got specific logos, markings, and it's well insulated and wrapped. This is done so that it is easily identified by the person transporting it from both countries, whether in point of origin or its destination. As you can see, another drug seizure in South Africa with specific markings on each package. These are common packaging methods used for cocaine. Each brick is roughly 1 kilogram and has a street value of in excess of 400,000 Rand per kilogram. That is 400 Rand per gram of cocaine, and you have 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. Recently, we had a bus entering into South Africa from Brazil, which was found to have narcotics in all parts of the air conditioning systems. Here are the drugs, which have specific markings, colors, and identifiable logos. This is where the forensic team had found those drugs in the air vents of the bus. These are our specialized police heads, and usually they are on scene. At this specific drug bus at the Durban Harbour, the drugs were found to be in paint tins. You can see them over there. Do you see the paint tins over there? And immediately our police service would identify those drugs as being cocaine. And I say this because how would you know without doing the testing? You would know that if you were dealing on both sides, Brazil as well as South Africa. Here we have a South African police officer from Limpopo that was busted in Brazil for drug trafficking. Yes, that's correct. A South African policewoman. Look at this. South African former footballer Mark Batchelor. Have a look at this. Former South African footballer Mark Batchelor. He was killed. A shipment of his worth 1.4 billion Rand was seized in Australia. there was no mention around South African TV or news indicating this. Let me show you how these drugs were transported. Those drugs were transported in a heavy-duty forklift. If you notice the inconsistencies over there and over there, all packed with drugs. The word on the street was that Mark Batchelor had stolen these drugs from an international drug syndicate, and he was later gunned down. When traveling to Brazil, you would often see the young gangster cartel members dressed like so. Police officers, private security, army dressed like so. Cartel members, enforcers openly walk on the streets, controlling areas where they call it open air drug markets. You can see the gun that he's holding is gold plated. When traveling in Brazil, you are not allowed to video these people without having to pay protection. Why this is very important, why I mention Brazil. Notice how many of our senior police officers have been to Brazil, are obsessed with the BBL lift, which is very common in Brazilian culture. We are completely fucked.